In this video, we're talking all about that Disneyland forward approval. The city of Anaheim Council meeting was the other day. They approved it unanimously, 7-0. We're going to break it down, talk about it. I got Mr. Webba, the Italiano, in the house today on episode of OG 5055. Welcome aboard, everybody, to this episode of OG 55. We're talking all about Disneyland Forward. We got a lot of momentum with this thing. We're so close. We are so close. But before we dive into our topic today, I want to introduce the one and the only, the Italiano, George. Welcome back, sir.
Glad to be back, and I was really looking forward to this discussion because the three of us kind of had a little late night watch party, so to speak, and then Mr. Webba and I kind of finished it off because this thing went into the late hours into the early morning of the next day. But for us Disney nerds, that's this was like the Rose Bowl, the Super Bowl of it was history in the making. We didn't get anything like this since back in the late 90s when they were making the announcement for Disney California Adventure. But even to this is on a much grander scale, that this is going to be a 40 plus year kind of
initiative, I guess.
And I guess you would. And I add the plus onto 40 because we know with Disney, they're not going to stop there. So
yeah, of course. Yeah. And George, you can let everybody home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is. And we got our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in the house today, Mr. Webba. Mr. Webba, welcome back, sir. It's always good to see you. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely, OG. And again, thank you guys so much for having me on today's discussion. I'm really looking forward to this. And George, that you are right. This is history in the making. A 7-0. Woo, man, we are golden. So yes, sir. You can find me. I am actually rebranding myself. I want to give a shout out to Tones from Bat Thoughts. I just premiered this on his video just earlier. We just did. So now I'm doing it here on OG 55, and you can find me, Mr. Webba, on Instagram, and Mr. Webba on Twitter, and also Mr. Webba here on OG 55.
Yes. And did you say golden, Mr. Webba? Because I believe we got an approval, democracy in action. 7-0 unanimous. Disneyland Forward moves on to the next stage, May 7th. So this is crazy, right, George? This is absolutely nuts. Now we did a little bit, like you said, we had a little bit of a watch party. OG didn't last the whole time, which we knew that wasn't going to happen, man. I was out by 10:30, but you and Michael, though, you guys did the long haul.
Yeah. Yeah, we all kind of took our bets, and we kind of lost it because we thought you were going to be at it 9:05.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I lasted a little longer than I expected myself. I was like, okay, 10:30, it's pretty good. Now, overall, before we dive into
and honestly, that you were being a trooper, so why don't you give yourself an eagle for that?
Yeah, exactly. Spread those golden wings. Absolutely. So overall, let's talk about, before we get into the meat and potatoes in regards to what it means for Disneyland overall. Let's kind of dive into, because this is definitely part of the story, right? The public, that when people went up to the podium and were able to kind of state their case, whether they support or not support this initiative, Disneyland Forward, right? This is fascinating. I mean, this is really, really fascinating. There were a lot of opinions here. A lot of people did support this, absolutely, but there were a lot of people that got up there. They were really mad. They were coming in pretty hot. George, what are your thoughts on the public portion of this meeting?
So, I had watched previous the planning commission or the commission planning meeting for the first vote on this. And I did see a lot of familiar faces as far as the residents and the people who were either for or against this project moving forward. And they stated their opinions. You know, there were a lot of like hot takes and, you know, some choice words, so to speak, but it moved, you know, in a timely manner. This time, I think these residents were kind of feeling the heat a little bit, not thinking that it was going to get approved and move this far into the game, and they kind of let it out a little bit more. There were some people where I have to say, and to be quite honest, I was somewhat appalled by their reaction and their attitudes, to be honest with you. It's one thing to disagree or have an opposite of an opinion, but to be very rude, very disrespectful, vulgar, somewhat violent, even downright to threatening the Anaheim City Council's jobs. To me, I feel like that's way going across the line than what they're there for. And to me personally, and some of them kind of said it, they feel quite threatened to the fact that Disney is doing this, because essentially this will become a multi-day experience resort. And these people do not want tourists there. They want to keep Anaheim as locally as it can be. And Disney, nor actually the city of Anaheim, wants that.
Well, and the thing that was kind of frustrating to me and I'm with you, George. Like, I think it's healthy to have this conversation, and it's good to have people get up there and voice their concerns. Yeah, my issue wasn't with the people that had concerns and do not support this, and did it professionally and respectfully. I have no issue with any of those people, and they have every right to do that, you know, and good on them for doing it. You know, my issue came. I think this is basically what you were saying too, where it's like, you have people that were getting up there screaming like at their top of their lungs, you know, Disney this, Disney that. And then a lot of the information they were screaming about wasn't even correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
exactly.
Like, if you're going to get up there and just scream and just like just unload, like just go crazy like that, you better come with the facts, right? And I thought a lot of people were thinking that Disney was going to start like bulldozing residential neighborhoods or something. All they are doing is building on the land they already own. So if there's a parking lot there now, it'll be a theme park space now. That's all it is. And there were people getting up there like, oh my God, they're growing, it's too much, and this, that, and the other. It's like, but they're only using their own land. You know what I'm saying? So
and another thing that really got to me is a lot of the people they kept on mentioning about kind of like pollution, and construction and everything. And I just have to say, a lot of their takes were mentioning about housing, which, yes, definitely Anaheim does need to focus on affordable housing. I do feel for those people who, you know, are struggling, what have you. Trust me, I get it. But if you're going to have the counter argument to say, oh, well, Disney is going to cause air pollution from the construction and what have you. Okay, well, to build affordable housing, how are you going to build the houses?
Right. We don't live in exactly. We don't. We live in the real world. It's not bibbity bobbity boo, and there it is. You know what I'm saying? So whether you're building affordable housing or whether you're building, you know, another downtown Disney or a theme park thing, it's all construction. Exactly. Yeah, I didn't understand that either. It's like, it was like, oh, it's going to bring a lot of congestion with the construction.
And one more thing before move on to Mr. Webba down there. That Mr. Webba down there. Who made that dirty? So anyway,
George, don't tempt me, brother.
Oh, Jesus. Lord.
We're going to hell, bro.
We are. Hell in a handbasket. That the other notion that was really driving me crazy, and I think Mike, you can vouch for me on this one too, that it's all these people are expecting Disney to do so much when it comes to the city of Anaheim. It's like, well, why don't you focus on my neighborhood? Why don't you focus on my school? Why don't you focus on this and that? Technically, Disney doesn't have to do squat. So the fact that Disney was even offering money for local parks, for affordable housing, you know, there shouldn't even be a price tag on that of what it should be, because Disney doesn't even have to do that.
No, they were trying to come to the table respectfully and respect the community. Like, instead of being combative, they're being collaborative, right? Because Disney has been combative in the past with the residents and the local businesses. This time, Disney's like, you know what, we're going to do this the right way this time. You know, we're going to put money towards affordable housing, improving the parks. And it's like, you're right. There were a lot of people getting up there going, well, what about my neighbor? What about this? What about that? It's like, okay, take that up with the city and the government, right? Disney is not the government. You know what I'm saying? So that was very frustrating to me too. There was like this sense of like Disney should like fix all of Anaheim or something. I don't understand what that was about, but
and I commend Ken Potrock. I really do, because he sat there all night and he was getting basically like verbally crucified by these people. And his response at the very end was very professional. You know, he not only represented himself, he represented Disneyland, and basically a big part of just the Walt Disney Company as a whole, that he still, despite of everything, he respected everybody's thoughts, opinions, of being passionate, even though he knows in his mind that a lot of them were uncalled for, but he still took the high road, and it made it better for Disney in front of the Anaheim City Council.
Yeah, correct. And the thing too is if people are passionate or they're against Disneyland Forward, it doesn't serve your case that you're trying to make when you get up there and you kind of rant and rave like you're like a crazy person, kind of, right? Like, it's better to be professional, and I think you catch more flies with honey, so to speak. Go ahead, Webb. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Sorry, I just want to say, and also too, with all that, right, is something. Not all of them, but some of them who were kind of ranting and raving. I was telling George this, like, some of these people are up there like speaking, and okay, it's one thing to have your opinion about literally what's happening, right? But then it's another thing to go up there and start like ranting and stuff because you're more concerned about your dislike for the company. Right. So it's like they're using this kind of pedestal here to get up there on their soapbox and rant about the company, about them being like evil corporate overlords and whatever, and they want to take over everything and stuff like that. And it's like, guys, this is not about that. Like, if you want to go rant online, go somewhere else. But this is here about, the Disneyland Forward project. And like, some of these people were just kind of getting out of base of what this was about. And to George's point, and like I was saying, talking, oh, what about Disney, on my school or my neighborhood? Like, this isn't a freaking charity, guys. Like, this is Disneyland trying to do the right thing with the city of Anaheim. And the reason why we got the 7-0 unanimous approval is because the city of Anaheim, they saw that. They see the positivity and the money that Disneyland is going to bring in.
Right. And that's what kind of frustrates me with, like, when people come out there and they're like, well, what's Disney doing for us? It's like the expansion itself is going to bring so many jobs, both in construction and when it opens. So that's a huge element in and of itself. Even if hypothetically Disney didn't even do a single thing other than just build this stuff, that alone is helping the city of Anaheim through jobs and everything else. And it's like, it's frustrating, Webb. I completely agree with you, brother. Go ahead, George. I do apologize.
No, you're fine, bro. And another notion is they keep on mentioning, well, it's disturbing this, and it's the fireworks with this, and the sound is shaking my house and what have you. That could be very well true, but let's not forget Disneyland opened in 1955. Chances are you were not at your house during the time that Disneyland opened. So therefore, Disneyland was there before you were in said house. So it was your decision to live across the street from a theme park. So you can't tell me that you did not know any of this was going to happen. Disneyland always had fireworks. Disneyland always had traffic commute going back and forth in through the city of Anaheim. This should have not been any kind of issue Because if that was the case, you shouldn't be going again to Disney about those problems. You should have been going against your realtor, who maybe should have told you a little bit more in detail when you're buying your house.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, look, yeah, Southern California is a big place, right? I mean, you don't have to move across the street from Disneyland, and you know what you're getting into when you do that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and that's frustrating, bro. And I've been making this case for a long time, George. That has always bugged me. If you're going to move next to Disney, or you're going to move next to or in that Anaheim resort area, this comes with the territory. And then to move into Disney's backyard, and then you dictate what Disney should or shouldn't do. And that's not fair to, it's not fair to fans of the parks. It's not fair to Disney themselves. Like, you chose to move there. You know what I'm saying? And the fireworks, even right now, are less of an issue than they ever have been, because Disney has been relying more and more and more on these projections and stuff and other medium. And it's not just fireworks anymore. So it's crazy.
And also, so I'm not sure about you, because me and you we're pretty close to our distance of where we live, right? But where I am, right, I know it's not a theme park, but where I live at, I literally have the second largest Marine Corps base in the United States behind me. Not like right behind me, but like just like maybe like 3 miles, 5 miles from me, right? And every now and then they do trainings way out there, boom, boom, and sometimes it's so loud it shakes our windows, right? And you can hear just boom, boom, right? And it's like, okay, we know that's what the cost is, right? We can hear all that type of noise and whatever. Is it me personally? I like it. Like I like loud noises, so I love fireworks and like explosions and stuff. So for me, I think it's cool. You know,
well, especially me with the hype train. You know, that I always tease about it. Like literally, it's like I hear a train going in and out constantly. Well, that comes with the territory when you live right down the street from a train track. You know, it's like you got to give and take. You know, you're not going to have your cake and eat it too. You know, and again, if you're going to move into a residential area that's right next to a big themed entertainment complex such as Disneyland, where there's a lot of foot traffic, a lot of commute, a lot of traffic, people going in and out, you're going to hear people, you're going to hear sound, you're going to hear music, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't have moved in there in the first place. Or if you don't like it now, move. That's all I could tell you.
Yeah, well said, well said. Now let's move into the Disneyland portion of this. I got a video. I think we'll start with the video first, right? Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and start with this. Give me just a second, fellas. Let's play this, and then we'll you know how we do on OG55. We talk about it, break it down, do our thing. Here we go. This is from the actual meeting.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Aiken, Mayor Pro Tem Kurtz, the Honorable City Council, and city staff. I'm Ken Potrock, President of the Disneyland Resort. I am so incredibly proud to be here tonight representing Disneyland Resort on a legacy project that will set the stage for what I think we all believe will be an immensely bright future for both the resort and the city of Anaheim. Walt Disney knew exactly what he was doing when he chose Anaheim to build his one-of-a-kind theme park in the 1950s. He partnered with Mayor Charles Pearson and City Manager Keith Murdoch, leaders who had a bold vision of what Anaheim could become. Today, almost 70 years after Disneyland opened, it's safe to say that Anaheim has evolved beyond anything that they could have imagined. 2 professional sports teams, a bustling convention center, over 180 hotels, nearly 70 community parks, incredible entertainment, dining experiences, and of course, a thriving resort district centered around the happiest place on earth. Whether it was building Disneyland in the 1950s or partnering with Mayor Tom Daley and City Manager Jim Ruth in the 90s to transform Disneyland into the resort destination it is today, the relationship between Disney and Anaheim has worked because we've shared a bold collaborative vision for what this city could truly become.
Now, I respectfully kind of want to push back a little bit on Mr. Potrock, because I think lately Anaheim has been really supportive, but I've been following this stuff for a long time. Since, like I always say, since AOL dial-up, like literally not even exaggerating. And Anaheim has notoriously pushed back on Disney a lot, you know, and one of the reasons why we didn't get Westcott is because of the city. So they haven't been the most supportive over the years, and a lot of times that non-support or that pushback from Anaheim has given us a lesser product. You know, I love California Adventure, but let's be honest, I think we'd all want Westcott instead. You know, so it's been a rocky relationship. You know, it hasn't been all, you know.
And I do, and sorry, OG, I didn't mean to.
You're good. No, you're good.
But I do have to say, and nobody ever wants to repeat the horrific notions that we had to go through in 2020, and especially with Disneyland being closed for 412 days. But if I have to say, if there's anything, I'm an optimistic person. I'm a very positive person. I like to look at the glass half full instead of half empty. Yep. And if there's anything that I can have gotten out of those dark times back in 2020 of Disneyland being closed for 412 days is this moment now. Because I feel the fact that Disneyland was closed for that length amount of time woke the city of Anaheim up. It woke the businesses up. It woke the residents up to the notion of, oh my gosh, yeah, our businesses are thriving, but more so it's because the people that are coming in through here are to come to Disney. You know, no one is going to go into Anaheim and go down Harvard Boulevard just to go to Denny's or IHOP.
Yeah, those businesses, right. they the numbers. Now they're big franchises for sure, but they're not getting those numbers if they're not sitting across from Disneyland.
No, I think those businesses really took not advantage, but they what's the word?
Took it for granted.
They took it for granted.
They took it for granted how much business they got with Disneyland being there, and then with it closing, I think this, in a sense, was good for Disney, like what George was saying, because it really like opened their eyes, like holy crap, you know, we really need Disneyland to be actually open because that's how we get all these people and the money flowing and whatnot, right? All the foot traffic. So yeah, I mean, I think the reason OG why he was saying this is because, you know, you're trying to get a little, you know, cozy with the council, right? You want to smooze them a little bit.
Right, exactly. He wants to get a little bit of that special access, right, Weber?
Yes, exactly.
I think well, for Mr. Potrock, I think he deserves an Eagle too. So.
Oh yeah, here we go, Mr. Potrock. There we go.
But really quick, I do have to say, you know, it's to the best interest of Disneyland that, again, we didn't want to see Disneyland being closed for 412 days. Nobody did. You know, we all don't agree that it should have been closed for that long. However, it's done. It's over with. Let's move into the future. And this is the future. That just to say, if Disneyland didn't close, that's great in the moment. But could we potentially be seeing what we're looking at right now? We may not be.
Well, and also too, just another thing I want to bring up is I hope this, you know, especially for the city and the businesses there now, because, you know, in 30, 40 years, you know, who knows what person's going to own what business in Anaheim and whatnot, right? I hope that the COVID with Disneyland being closed, I hope that's a big a history learning experience for the city, because who's to say in 40, 50 years that all of a sudden we have new council members and like Disneyland, like they're not that, you know, like important, you know, like we're not going to prove them for anything, right? And it's like, well, no, look back what happened in 2020, they were closed and your entire city was like suffering.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So I hope they really learn from this experience from COVID with Disneyland being closed.
Yeah, no, well said. Well said.
Tonight, we are here again, making history together. For me, it is a tremendous, tremendous responsibility and privilege to follow in the footsteps of Walt Disney and partner with all of you. This is our legacy project, a partnership between Disneyland Resort and Anaheim that will impact generations to come. Guests today want more immersive and integrated experiences.
And look at the properties they're using. Okay, now we already have Galaxy's Edge, right? But they're using World of Frozen and Zootopia. And Ken Potrock, the gentleman who's speaking right now, went to Asia recently, just a few months ago, to check out these properties at Arendelle, Zootopia. He went and saw all that stuff. This is not, like we say, George, all the time, too many coincidences aren't a coincidence. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I am telling you, these are the lands they're looking at to bring here to California.
And it would definitely make sense too, because these two franchises were very successful when they first premiered. Not to mention, Frozen is going to get a second sequel, possibly a third sequel, and they're coming out with a sequel to Zootopia as well. So they're still fresh in the Disney community. You know, they're still very ripe in fans' minds, and of course, I think they kind of look at the data of like the Asian parks with Shanghai and Hong Kong of how well these lands do. And quite frankly, they're doing very well. And especially, I said it before and I'll say it again, the collab video that we did with Mr. 6 Miles Tall when he shared his experiences in Zootopia, it was phenomenal. The land looked awesome. Whether or not, you know, with the attraction or not, the attraction looked really cool. But honestly, just the land itself, especially at night, looked phenomenal.
It looks phenomenal. And I'm telling you, you know, if they're going to keep the California theme, I'm not so sure anymore. Actually, after the Paris park re-theme, I think it's on the table that they're going to change DCA's theme. But if they decide to keep California, and like I said many times, you can change Zootopia to a Los Angeles version of a Zootopia city, you know, Sloth Angeles, whatever. You can do it. You can figure it out. You can use LA landmarks and turn it into their style, their animal style, things like that, and put it in DCA, and it could work. It can absolutely work.
Yeah, and then the trolley, you know, you can just maneuver the track however you see fit for the land, right? Now, here's the thing, and we already discussed, you know, what the lands and stuff like that, but I just want to bring it up here just for like the audience and people to know my thoughts on this. OG is that oh here we go, right? Mr. Webbit coming in hot. No, so here's the thing, like, you know, World of Frozen, Zootopia, you know, I personally would love to see like those lands here or variations of them. Now, what I want to say to kind of not push back on that, but another idea I also hold is when he was showing these, right? Because it says imagine the possibilities. Yes, OG, I'm not disagreeing with you that, you know, these two lands aren't coming here, or high possibility of coming here. But what I do think also how you can look at this is, at least from my thought, is these are the type of new modern Walt Disney Imagineering IP lands that of the quality they can construct, right? For whatever IP they want to do. Now, could we get Frozen and Zootopia? Yeah, absolutely. I'm all down for it. I just think as like, you know, if you might want to look at it in a different lens, thinking, okay, you know, this is the new modern way of creating lands that are now IP, because you know Disney's they're never going to go away from the original lands, right? It's all going to be IP stuff, you know. So, but so kind of like with rides, right? And Mickey and Minnie's, they're dark rides, right? That's the new modern type of dark ride. Even with the Shanghai Zootopia ride, that's similar to rides and Mickey and Minnie's, right? So with that being the new modern dark ride now, these are the new modern IP lands, and they're freaking fantastic.
Yeah, they look great. They look absolutely great.
So Mike, quick question for you. Now you kind of give a little bit of a pushback that we still could get these, but they were more so just kind of utilizing like just as examples of like the modern technology of like for WDI that they're using. Now, if it's already been approved, you know, I think we're pretty much safe to say when May 7th comes, it's going to still be a landslide. I think it's kind of funny. 7-0 on the 7th hour, moving into May 7th, 777s.
7 lucky numbers, right?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
But so once it gets past May 7th, you know, when we move into the summer, specifically in August for D23, obviously it's going to be several months after this that they're going to kind of give us a look into of what is going to be about Disneyland forward. Mm-hmm. Hypothetically, if you were to take these two out of the equation, and knowing Disney, how they kind of utilize the strong IPs that would be geared towards the parks,
Yeah.
if not Frozen or Zootopia, what else would you seem fit for Disneyland forward?
And we're taking out Avatar too, right? Because we already know about that.
Yeah, that's already
Right,
coming.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so good question, George. So mine would be Tangled and Moana.
That's
Okay.
solid, bro. Like especially Tangle, I love that franchise, and the fact that we don't have anything like big here for Tangled is a sin. It really is. I absolutely love that movie. That's solid, man. Yeah, I could do that. I mean, Japan is getting a Tangled area in their Fantasy Springs.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, OG, that looks beautiful, dude. Like Tangled is a very beautiful movie. It's very aesthetically pleasing, and with Moana 2, you have like the island, the water, the rock work, right? Oh, it's
True.
gorgeous, and I would love to see that. And here's the thing, you could connect that with like the Pandora type of thing, right? Because you got the water and the rock work. I mean, assuming they're going to go off the way of water type of thing for Avatar, right? But you can kind of meld all that in together. I think that'd be really cool. So if not these two, Tangled and
I do love your suggestions, especially with Tangled. I agree with both of you. I kind of, me personally, I would take Tangled over Frozen. I'm just saying.
Honestly, I think I would too. I love the aesthetics of Frozen with the wood and the paintings, artwork on all the. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful, and I think they could really do a lot of fun with that franchise.
Absolutely,
great choices, Abba. Great choices.
Galaxy's Edge right here in Anaheim, or the new Zootopia Land at Shanghai Disney Resort, or the world of Frozen in Hong Kong Disneyland Resort. We are ready to bring the next level of immersive entertainment here to Anaheim, where lands, attractions, retail, dining, entertainment, and lodging are no longer separated, but can be integrated together in very exciting ways.
Can you pause it real quick?
We are committed.
Now,
wait, George. Hold on, George. I think we need to have the same idea. I want to hear.
Okay. So I thought it was kind of interesting when Ken mentioned about the dining, the shopping, the lodging, which is referring to hotels, with the entertainment of the theme park space, of intertwining them.
Yes,
so
yes.
I thought that was kind of interesting, because where the Disneyland Hotel resides and the god awful Pixar Place Hotel, that it's right in between, kind of woven into the land that they would be using for theme park space. So based on what he's saying, it's more so saying that the Disneyland Hotel and the Despicable Pixar Hotel, that it's I'm sorry, folks. I don't like that hotel. It has to go. But in the meantime, if we have it, we have it. That they can incorporate that
right
into theme park space.
Well, go ahead, Eb. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, OG. Sorry, real quick. So I will say, like, do you guys think that, in future projects and like, even for Walt Disney World or for other theme parks, that going forward, right, in like now our modern times of like theme park building, that they want to start, fully, because in a hotel, right, you want to be immersed still in the bubble, right? I think Walt Disney World, from what I heard, does a very good job of keeping you in the bubble of Disney. But at Disneyland, it's very kind of hard to do that, in my opinion. But is this their way of having the hotels, like with kind of the Grand Californian, of they're keeping you in the park space in that bubble, right? So I think maybe that's what they're trying to go for. So that way, instead of your hotel, you got to walk like 10 miles or whatever to the park. You're already right there. You're still immersed of the storytelling and creativity and whatnot. But yeah,
absolutely. Disney likes this, and also what it does for Disney financially is, believe me, Disneyland hotel prices are going to skyrocket when you have all this theme park around it now with those park views from your room.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's on Disney. For us, it's going to be hard. It's going to be more expensive. But for Disney, they can charge an arm and a leg now. You get a great view of Zootopia or whatever. Now, speaking of that, this is not official artwork or anything like that. This is actually former Imagineer Jim Shaw. He tweeted this out the other day, and we'll get back to the video in just a second. But he said this image is one concept how the land in the Disneyland Forward plan could be used. Fantasy stories towards Disneyland and adventure stories towards DCA. So
Which
kind of
is even, which is, and then on top of that, it's very smart because then you would have the Disneyland hotel on the side with Disneyland, and then you would have the Pixar hotel on the side of DCA. So you would
Right.
then have both opposite ends of the spectrum where you would have one hotel representing whatever side it is connecting to the park.
And it's interesting too. He said adventure stories for DCA because I'm wondering if they are going to go that direction with DCA, that they retheme that park, take away the California, it becomes more of a generalized adventure park. Because then this stuff makes sense. Then you don't have to justify Pandora being there. It's adventure. You don't have to justify Wakanda or even Fantasy Springs. Or I mean, it's adventure. It's a broad kind of theme.
Yeah.
So
No, I do think too that it was very smart with the DCA side that if they were to go this route and they were to put Pandora with Wakanda, that again, just kind of like with Mike mentioned earlier, where Moana kind of would have a nice segue with Pandora, but I also think Wakanda would be too, because you would then have both of these kind of live action fictional type worlds that could be kind of intertwined with one another.
right.
And then right next to it, you would have this like a Fantasy Springs kind of notion where you could have multiple IPs in that one land. My only thing that if they were to go that route with these particular IPs is obviously keep the hotel, but I still think that they would have to change the theme out of Pixar, because to me, I don't think that would suit right with a Pixar hotel next to Pandora and Wakanda.
Yeah, and also, sorry, OG, real quick.
There
To George's point, yeah, Pandora and Wakanda, you have like nature elements of lands, right? You know, so Wakanda, you got that big like jungle, right, out there, with different animals and whatnot. In the Pandora, right, you have the nature aspect, right? So, anyways, I just wanted to kind of point that out.
Yeah, it's a great segue. It really is.
And I'm sorry, one more thing I just have to say. The only thing that I don't agree with in this is the Zootopia. I would take Zootopia out and replace it with Hollywoodland.
Yeah.
Your idea, Mike. And that area, I would put Tangled right next to Frozen.
There you go. Yeah,
I like
Zootopia. If you're gonna get rid of Hollywoodland, which is the rumor, there is a rumor they're getting rid of all of Hollywoodland. I don't know how true that is, but it's going around the forums and all that stuff. But if they are going to get rid of Hollywoodland, I would like them to replace it with something urban again, because I don't want to lose Trolley. I love the red car trolley. So if we do a Zootopia, you can still keep the trolley going through it. If you do a Pandora in that spot, well, not so much. You can't really do that. So,
Yeah.
and we're going to get into the logistics of this in a second, because the streets and all that come into play here. But let's go ahead and finish our video, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Oh, so sorry, OG, real quick.
Oh yeah.
I just want to point out the hotel situation, right? Again, this is like one concept, but let's say this was the thing, right?
Right.
I hope if they're going to be integrating the hotels, the current hotels or new hotels or whatever, into park space, I really hope there's good sight lines in terms of like, I don't want it to interfere with like the rest of the park. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. They got to figure out how to do this. I don't want to see the Pixar place hotel inside Wakanda. You know what I'm saying? They gotta,
right.
Oh man, and that's the thing. I'm a stickler for that stuff, man. I'm a stickler for that stuff. And people were like got so mad at me when I was like really hard on Universal with the Super Nintendo World and the Comcast building. I'm like that with Disney too, everybody. Like it bothers me so much that you can see the convention center from inside Pixar Pier. I hate that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, well said, Ebba. The sight lines matter. Now, not all sight lines are equal though. There are some things I don't mind as much, like a mountain. I don't care. You can see that from anywhere. It's an organic thing. It feels normal anywhere. But when you have like skyscrapers and convention centers and hotels, that's where I start to get like, man.
And really quick on the Jim Shaw's concept where it shows like the 4 walkways, is that just hypothetical of where like those walkways would be, or is that actually where they can actually place walkways.
Well, I think it's an educated guess by Jim.
Okay.
I think these would be the bridges that would go over Disneyland Drive. I think he's kind of drawing something up to see what they could possibly do.
So more so, it would be 4 of them is what they're
For his concept. They would do 4. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're going to have to do bridges because that,
and they're going to have to do multiple, because if they just have 1 or 2 of them, the traffic on those things is going to be horrendous. So they have to have multiple bridges, even if it's going to the same place.
Exactly. They're going to have to.
Minimum investment commitment of $1.9 billion in the first 10 years that will bring engaging new experiences and entertainment to loyal fans and new audiences. And my emphasis is on the new audiences. These investments will bring life to some of our most powerful Disney stories.
Now, real quick, I'm pausing. No, but real quick, he said emphasis on new audiences.
Right, and I heard that, and I want to bring that up to you, OG. New audiences. So that means, like, in my mind, they're not focusing on us, die-hard Disney nerds, right?
Nope.
They want that normie money coming in.
They want the normie money. I would even go a little step further and say they want the tourism money, right? Where it's like,
well, yeah, tourism money,
right? Yeah, I mean, and the normies, you're not wrong on that. I mean, they want people from different countries visiting here to come to Disneyland Resort. Now, not to say that doesn't happen now. I think they want more of that. They're trying to move away from it being so locals driven. Now, I get it. You're never going to have a situation where there's no locals, and you don't want that. You know what I'm saying? You want to have locals. But I think from what Potrock is saying, we're trying to get new audiences. He's hinting at that. He wants more normies. He wants more tourists. They're kind of moving away from that kind of like local, like kind of Disney obsessed fan base. And we're all in that fan base. We're all Disney obsessed.
Look.
Yeah, exactly. And we're local and everything. So there's no animosity or anything like that. But I think Disney is looking to expand their fan base for Disneyland Resort. They don't want it just to be Knott's Berry Farm with a bunch of locals. Go ahead.
Well, exactly. And you're fine. And then Ken Potrock, he said it at the Planning Commission. He said that Disney or Disneyland, they're looking to make the Disneyland Resort a multi-night, multi-day destination. And so they want that tourism money.
Exactly.
And keep our resort relevant with the broadest of appeal to a variety of different audiences and age groups. But please, let me be clear. The time is now. The Walt Disney Company has committed to investing $60 billion in its theme parks worldwide over the next decade. Let's bring a large portion of that investment here to Anaheim.
Now that's
yes, I just had we all had to stop at it there because that's very telling, because it was almost like, in a way, a plea to the Anaheim City Council. It's like, let me be clear. This decision making has to happen now. I know Ken wouldn't say this. I'm saying it in the Italiano style. We can't pussyfoot around with the decision making. It's like Disney is investing $60 billion into expanding its parks and resorts and cruise line. And it's like, with Ken running the Disneyland Resort, he wants a good portion of that. And in order to do that, Disneyland Forward needs to be approved. So it's almost like a little bit of, I don't want to say disparity at that moment, but it's like, it's like he's craving it. He wants it, but he got all these hurdles that he's pleading his case.
And the fact that he said a big portion of that money, how much are they planning on spending in Anaheim ultimately?
So that's the thing, right? Is I was talking to George about this after OG went to Nighty Night.
OG played it smart. He's like, "Fuck this shit, I'm going to bed." And then Here's me and Ebba. We're like drooling from our mouths, bobbing our heads up, trying to say, "Did they vote yet?"
But yeah, it's like, so George, I agree, but I also think maybe it's Disney as a whole, because remember, for a while there was that issue in Florida, right? I know now that's over, the game, the ball running now. But I'm seriously wondering if not just Camp Pop Rock, but even Bob Iger, like Disney as a whole, they're looking at Disneyland as the next big prime time park, right?
Well,
Like this
and Webba, you bring up a good point, because I've been saying this for a long time. Yes, Florida has more space,
Mhm,
but in terms of growth potential, like
mhm.
percentages, you know what I'm saying? Growth, getting your hotel occupancy up. I think there's more potential in Anaheim, because, like I said before, and we did a recent Universal video about this, and that where it's like there's only so many days you can spend on vacation. So with Walt Disney World kind of being kind of a mature market, you have more room to add more days to a Disneyland Resort vacation a lot easier. So Disneyland Resort right now is probably maybe a 2-day thing. You do 1 day at Disneyland, 1 day at DCA. So you have more room to work with to grow. And so I could see them focusing on Disneyland. The growth potential, I think, is way more than a Walt Disney World, where it's kind of like you're kind of like treading on you're cannibalizing your own stuff at a certain point. Go ahead, George.
And also, too, Ken had mentioned during the commission's meeting, the first vote, he had mentioned briefly that to one of the people on the commission's planning team, that he had said, we already know what we want and where
Yes.
it's going to go.
Mhm.
So if he's already kind of envisioning what is going to go where and how, then they kind of already have a number in their mind of how much they want to spend.
Right.
And so when he probably told Damaro went to Iger went to the executives, it's like, as it goes down that chain reaction, it's like, okay, that's fine, you can do that, but you're going to have to get Disneyland Forward approved in order to get this X amount of money that you want. And also to the notion of Walt Disney World. Right now, a lot of the projects that we're looking into with Walt Disney World is more so, speaking of the tropical Americas and Animal Kingdom, it is replacing a lot of stuff. So it's not going to cost that much money. Now, one can argue to the fact of with Beyond Big Thunder, that's going to cost a lot. But here's the caveat to that, though, and I actually just thought of this right now as you guys were bringing up Walt Disney World. No one really has said that the Beyond Big Thunder is going to be within the 10-year gap that all this notion would be going. Right now, they have nothing concrete for Beyond Big Thunder. They're running the possibilities. So by the time they even decide to even green light something, get the permits, pick up one scoop of dirt with a shovel, you're looking beyond like 10 years. You're probably looking at like 12 to 15.
Well, and they're looking to do Animal Kingdom first. Go
Exactly.
ahead, Webber.
Oh, so sorry, guys. And then here's the thing, George. You bring up a good point about greenlight stuff, right? Is that while technically I wouldn't think that stuff here is greenlight yet. They're really banking on this being approved. They're like, because if he's saying, right, we know where what we want and where we want to build it, that means that they have already, like you said, George, they have already budgeted the funds for it, and they know what IP they want to put, and they know where they want to put it. So this is really like pretty much a do or die situation with Disneyland at this moment.
And this is where, with a lot of the people, they're saying, well, if you divide this amount of money to Disneyland, it's going to be the X amount for Walt Disney World and for Disneyland Paris. And it doesn't work that way.
Exactly. We've been saying that the whole time, George, where people are like, well, if you take 10 years and 60 billion and evenly this, but that's not how they allocate it. They never allocate like that. And he's admitting to you right now they're not going to do that. He's saying a big chunk of it is going to come here. So it's not going to be even Steven across the board. Yeah, exactly, George. Well said.
It takes 3 to 5 years for Imagineers to bring an idea to fruition. And the company is deciding which parks will...
Sorry, that just reminded me what he said, the 3 to 5 years, right?
Right.
Off my last point, if they know what and where they want to build, that means that they already have everything kind of in place of like R&D, right? Of the stuff they want to build, vehicles, the story, all that stuff. So, obviously they had the 3 year of like the Disneyland Forward like initiative going on, but it sounds like once this approved and they're able to hit construction, it sounds like it's going to be quick because if they know what and where and they already have everything, character, story already
Right.
planned out. It sounds like, yeah, it'll take a while, obviously, because it's going to be a lot of work. But it sounds like it will be quicker because they already know what they want.
I'll
Well,
double
yeah.
down on that, Ebba, because you make a good point. Because if you actually even look at the Damaros shoulda, coulda, wouldas, they were all Walt Disney World. You never heard really anything of, oh, well, this is a possibility for Disneyland. This might work for Disneyland. We could put this here in Disneyland. He never did that. Why? Because at the whole time, the division for Disneyland already has what they want in place guaranteed. But Tomorrow couldn't mention that because if he mentioned it and Disneyland Forward didn't get approved, then he's fucked.
Yeah, and the fans would be pissed, George. The fans, I mean,
they were already pissed just with the shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Exactly. Well, hopefully this time I'm very confident this will pass. And I just want to say too, I'm gonna go on board and say this. I give huge props and credit to Disney and Camp Pot Rock for everything they've done for Disneyland Forward. I would be so nervous being up on this podium trying to sell this thing to the city. So I just want to give them big credit for this.
And you brought up something to me too while we were on the phone, hanging our heads since 6 o'clock in the morning my time. That anything that the console kind of threw at them as far as questions, comments, concerns, they already had the answer. Like they did their homework on this shit. And it's like, and again, all these people argue saying, oh, well, we need more time for this. We need to digest this. It's like, take some Pepto-Bismol because you already had 3 years to digest it.
Right.
Go ahead, Ev. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, so yeah, like I was like Georgia said, I was telling you, like I was really impressed, very impressed with the way how Disney was able to answer, or like the representatives they were able to answer all these questions that were being like thrown at. Right, I was like, that was me. I'd be like, I'll have to get back to you on that. Oh, wait. Oh, I never thought about that before. Actually, you know what?
Yeah, we were kind of making jokes. It's like we could see like the Disney people just writing this down. It's like, hold up. This is some good shit. We got to do some research on this.
I actually, it's interesting because it seemed like the council, well, obviously the council knew they were going to vote yes on it. Yeah. And it was kind of funny how they knew they were going to vote yes on it, but then like they had to go through 90 something people, and a lot of them were complaining. Yeah. And I actually do have some footage of the council during that whole process of having to sit through all 90, knowing they were going to approve it anyway. Right here. There you go.
Exactly.
Exclusive footage of them sitting around just waiting for this thing to be over,
and I think too, really quick, again, and because it was a landslide, like 7-0, the fact that they even have to do another vote on this, it's like I mean, I get it's probably like the state of California policy or what have you, but I mean, I think even though they have to vote on it, and they have to go through this process, I think this was the important one because this is basically like, even though you need to, this was the one and done.
Yeah.
Well,
because
I did have someone, George, because I mentioned that on Twitter, and someone replied back to me because I don't know how this works, right? But they replied back to me saying that it's to give time just in case the council members want to change their vote. But the person said that hardly happens. So
it's just kind of giving some leg room just in case of anything.
Yeah.
You never know.
Receive funding right now. We want to make sure we get part of this investment. I would kindly say more than our fair share part of this investment.
Okay, sorry. I know we keep on pausing this, but this is good shit right here. That's where it sounded like a plea to me because it almost sounded like that without Disneyland Forward, Disneyland would have been getting like
nothing.
The
almost.
leftovers, probably like the nickel and dimes of the $60 billion.
Yes, but you also have to be very careful too, because he's trying to sell them on this. So he's going to try to make it look dire. Like, if you guys don't do this, we don't have it. So there's a little bit of a sales tactic here, I think, too. But it's also not wrong that, hey, the future of the resort depends on it, because really, where else are they going to go? DCA is maxed out basically right now. Once you build that Avengers e-ticket behind Mission Breakout, there's no room in DCA.
That's why, honestly, Ken, like, if he really wanted to have like a great sales pitch, bring up like a big, like, gauntlet of water and say, because of you, if you deny Disneyland Forward, these are the tears of the young children at your disposal.
Do it for the kids, man. Do it for the kids.
And the vision. With your support, we can ensure that Disneyland Resort and Anaheim continue to thrive for decades to come. We've all heard about the Avatar experience that is at the top of the list for Disneyland Resort. But what we can do with this experience regarding the size and scope is inherently influenced by Disneyland Forward. We want to go beyond replacing and reimagining current attractions and lands.
Oh, that George.
Oh, you want me? You have a comment? Or we keep going?
No, keep it going.
And we want to bring new, expanded experiences like Cars Land, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and Avengers Campus to the Disneyland Resort.
Okay.
So what do you make of that?
So based off of that, this is the one that really scratched my head, because not that it scratched my head. I scratched my head. But it's
wait, George, which one?
You usually have it with that. There's topical cream for that.
Oh man. So
but anyway,
so he was saying that basically. Well, go on. I'll let you finish your point.
Yeah. So basically, he was saying about like current lands replacing, expanding, and he gave these. He said like Avengers Campus, Galaxy's Edge, and Cars Land, which we all kind of know, obviously, in time in the future for Galaxy's Edge and Avengers Campus. But Cars Land, that was the one that kind of threw me like for a loop a little bit, because I thought basically Cars Land was complete in my mind. Like, I didn't think that they wanted to go back into that. But then I remember watching Dave from Fresh Baked on his video. And if you want to bring that up, OG, that he showcases a statement by Josh D'Amaro. And in Josh D'Amaro's quote is sort of almost like what Ken was saying, but the only difference is D'Amaro used just the term Pixar, but then now Ken actually kind of emphasized more on that by mentioning Cars Land.
So let's go ahead and play Dave's video. And I just want to say, when you go to Dave's video, do like OG did and smash that like button, and do like OG did and subscribe. All right, here we go.
About a year ago. Then again, just a few weeks ago, when Parks President Josh D'Amaro said, and I'm paraphrasing, we would love to build the Avatar experience if just the city of Anaheim would approve our Disneyland Forward plans. And it was that statement.
And then if you could just pause it really quick, OG.
Go
sorry,
back.
if you could just go back just a little bit. Yeah, so below it, Dave was talking just about the Avatar experience, but continuing on, that's where it was saying, over the past decade, we've delivered massive immersive experiences at our destinations around the world, including new lands and attractions based on Star Wars, the Avengers, Pixar, and more. So again, D'Amaro showcases Star Wars, Avengers, and Pixar, and then Ken brings that back up in the conversation by expanding and adding and changing those three. But instead of just saying Pixar, he specifically mentioned Cars Land.
Well, and the interesting thing about Cars Land is sort of back in the conversation right now, because there's a rumor, and again, it's just a rumor. We don't know how legit it is or not, right? But that they're going to get some version of Cars at Magic Kingdom. Okay. Well, Disney, we don't know. Obviously, they're probably going to get a Radiator Springs Racers, but there might be a secondary attraction to that, maybe like a C or D ticket that we're not aware of. So when Disney builds stuff, they always build two, right? So if they're already going into Magic Kingdom with a Cars expansion, maybe they're going to have the racer ride and some other secondary attraction. It makes sense that might come here to Anaheim, and that's why they're bringing up Cars Land. Now, that's just speculation on my part. You know what I'm saying? I have no inside information, no special access, but I would, that's a possibility. That's an absolute possibility that there's some sort of secondary thing that they're going to build over there in Magic Kingdom that might be coming here. So,
see, here's the thing. If that's the case, OG, right? If that's the case, and they like you said, if they do the two, right, one over there, one over here, that would give Cars Land as an IP land like one with the most attractions in it, right? Because right now there's currently three.
Three.
Yeah. So then if you add a fourth one, holy crap, you're gonna have four. You're gonna have four attractions in that land.
So it's interesting. It's a great video by Dave. I suggest everyone check that out. It's on his Fresh Baked Presents video. I want to dive into this real quick with you guys. Actually, you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to share a tweet actually from our friend Tyler, because it's actually on this topic.
Right.
So I think it would be good to kind of share this. This is from Tyler Kelson. Again, friend of the channel. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. But it says here, wait, what? Did anyone else see this? Ken Potrock hinted at Galaxy's Edge, Avengers Campus, and Cars Land expansions. Pretty sure this is the only area Cars Land could possibly expand into, though. But isn't that where the Avengers e-ticket is supposed to be going? So he's referring to this back area right here. Now, he's right. The Avengers e-ticket is supposed to go back here. But it's possible maybe it's a split lot. It's possible maybe this back half right here will be the new Cars ride, and then the rest of it will be Avengers. It doesn't have to all be dedicated to the Avengers attraction. I don't know. What do you guys think about that theory of it kind of like that particular parking lot being split into two, partly for Avengers and partly for Cars Land? You think that could work?
So they could do that, but then that begs the question, right? Remember we did that video with Jay Shear on the type of attractions that were kind of proposed or whatever to go for the Avengers e-ticket. Right. So now if that's the case of them splitting that piece for both lands, then that begs the question to me, okay, then what type of show building or whatnot are they going to use for the Avengers e-ticket? Like, if that's the case, do they have to change plans again for something else to have a smaller space?
Do we know the acreage of this plot of land?
I think it's, don't quote me on it. If anyone at home knows the exact, please comment down below. From what I understand, I think it's about 4 or 5 acres.
Okay.
From what I understand, I could be wrong.
I mean, that's a still pretty big plot of land. So, I mean, you might be able to get away with splitting it in half. Plus, you don't really know what kind of attraction or maybe a restaurant or maybe even a show, that could possibly be used for Cars Land.
It could be. I mean, it's all speculation at this point, but I think it's pretty interesting, though. Cars is back in the conversation. We're talking a lot about it in regards to Walt Disney World. We're talking now possibly coming here to Anaheim. Yeah, it's interesting, dude.
And we know that Disneyland especially, they really like to utilize as much of their space as possible.
Right, 100%.
And before we go back to any of the video, I want to kind of rewind a little bit what Ken was mentioning about Avatar. And again, very telling of why we weren't really getting too much information on this, why they were calling it an experience, why it was like, it's going into DCA. No, it's not going into DCA. It's going into Disneyland. No, it's just the Disneyland Resort, not Disneyland Park, is because waiting upon Disneyland Forward would depict how big of a scope that this is going to be. Is it going to be a land? Is it going to be just a single attraction? I think in that moment, even Disney, the Imagineers, Ken really didn't even know. Even Damaro and Iger probably didn't even know. They probably have like an Avatar A, Avatar B, Avatar C, depending on what the outcome would be. So being that obviously Disneyland Forward is pretty much greenlit at this point, they can go full all out, balls to the wall on this Avatar experience.
And fans get frustrated. Oh, we're not getting enough information. We're not getting enough information. But you don't understand the behind the scenes stuff. And that you bring up a great point, George, where it's like, a lot of this stuff is contingent upon other stuff happening. So fans get out there like, oh man, they didn't announce this yet. They didn't announce that. I get it. As a fan, I want all the goodies too. You know what I'm saying? I want to eat, I want to get all that good stuff, right? But at the same time, you got to understand, like you said, it's contingent upon this thing with the city going through. So they don't want to put stuff out there to the fandom and then have to backpedal, because then they get in a lot of deep shit if they do that, right? Because then the fans get like mentally married to the announcement and the concept art, and then if Disney doesn't do exactly what they announced, then suddenly it's a huge thing. They're playing it safe, let's wait and see if it gets approved, then we'll kind of go forward. So yeah,
exactly. And I'll say as a Disney fan, guys, especially Disneyland, it's my baby, it's my home park. I am super. I mean, I know we still have one more level to go, but I am super happy and super ecstatic for Disney/Disneyland, because this is such an uphill battle they have to do just to get the zoning rights to be able to be for multi-use. Like they're not even asking to expand on not of their turf, right? So just to have this big battle just to do that, I'm like, man, I'm so happy as a fan that this is all moving smoothly so far.
No, absolutely. It's a fight for the future, because because a lot of fans complain when they retheme or replace something. Well, what do you think would happen if they can't go into these parking lot areas? What do you think is going to happen? Then it's going to be basically the only thing they can do is bulldoze and replace or retheme. Well, as fans, we don't want that. We don't want to lose something that we love. So, the best way that you get around that is to expand the room that you can grow, and this is the best way to do it. So, if they didn't get this approved, it would change everything, because then the only way they can do anything new is replace something. And I don't know. I'd rather add than replace.
Exactly. And guys, I'm saying, well, not to you guys, but to like people watching, guys, this is history in the making right now. This is amazing. I am so freaking thrilled and excited, guys. You have no freaking idea. This is awesome.
Exactly. And you said history in the making?
We know that when we add new experiences for our guests, everyone wins, including our cast members and the community. 1 in 7 of our cast members live right here in Anaheim, and 1 in 8 are enrolled in our Aspire program, which provides fully paid college tuition. To date, over 1,000 Disney Resort cast members have graduated with college degrees. And in the past 5 years, over 1,200 cast members were promoted from hourly to salaried roles, continuing our commitment to provide resources and opportunities for our cast to progress in their careers. Disneyland Resort is also proud to be a premier employer and destination of choice for military members and their families, with over 900 veterans employed at the resort. You will hear from a variety of these incredible cast members tonight. Disneyland Forward will not only provide more leadership roles for our cast, but it will also give us the opportunity to hire new cast members into competitive paying jobs with benefits and affordable health care and child care for those eligible, and opportunities for mentorship and training. It's a really interesting stat. We currently have 1,700 people on the hiring wait list. 1,700 people on the wait list for hourly roles at Disneyland Resort.
Pause there?
Yeah.
No wonder why I couldn't find anything on the DisneyCareers.com.
well, right, yeah, and I've heard a lot about like there's a huge wait list. People get denied. I mean, here's the thing. Like I even applied to to the well, not the park, but like one of the hotels for a position, and my application was like instantly denied, like for no reason. And I called casting. And I explained why, and like, oh, that it happens sometimes. We have so many applications that come in. Just reapply. But it makes sense because I even now I check the website, like on a regular basis, and there's not a lot of positions open, guys.
No,
it's insane.
And this is the thing. It's like a lot of these people that were on that public comment section were complaining about big bad mouse house, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like this company is a huge part of the city, and it's going to create a lot of jobs. It's not. I get it. It's fashionable and it's easy to go after the big corporation and say, oh, they're bad.
Yeah.
But and sometimes they are. I'm not saying they're sometimes they are bad. You know what I'm saying? But I think for this particular circumstance, they are creating a lot of jobs, helping a lot of people eat and live. And I think that this is a positive thing, a net positive. And then on top of that, Disney is kind of, even kind of going above and beyond with doing the affordable housing, which is awesome. So yeah, good things all around. Absolutely.
Our applicant to hire ratio is an amazing 9-to-1. Clearly, Disneyland Resort is an employer of choice. Imagine if we had more roles for all who want to work here. And investing in Disneyland Resort is a win for our community. We've been embedded in the fabric of the Anaheim community for the past 70 years. And our giving and volunteer support touches every corner of this great city. We're also proud of our workforce development program, which impacts over 10,000 Anaheim residents each year. We are honored to partner with 15 Anaheim-focused organizations like the Anaheim Union High School District, Chrysalis, and the Anaheim Family YMCA. Together, we provide residents with mentorship, preparing the next generation to enter the workforce, and assisting those re-entering the workforce. To date, we have provided over $6.5 million in workforce development grants and donated thousands of Disney volunteers' hours. I'm also excited for you to hear from a few of our community partners tonight about how we're working together for a stronger Anaheim.
So OJ, can you
But
pause?
first, I have to invite, and I'm really thrilled to invite.
So I want to go off this, right? Well, not like talk about everything on here, but go back to what we mentioned before is that people are saying big bad mouse house, Disney, you want to take over, rule the world, and everything like that. And it's like, oh, what about my neighborhood or whatever? It's like, guys, they invest already so much, and
Right.
the things like they don't have to, right? That's what George was
That's
saying. They
the
don't
thing.
have to.
No, they don't. It's good
But
that they
are.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's good that they do, and they should be more collaborative. It's awesome. But they're not. This is a business. This is a corporation. They're in the entertainment business. This is not. If you have an issue with your city streets and this, that, and the other, go to Anaheim for that. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
Like-
it's funny because it's like they're looking at the Mouse House as a corporation who should be taking care of the city, right? Like, oh, my neighborhood's all jacked up. Disney, I need you to fund money into this and fix it. Like, no, you go to the city for that. That's part of it. Now, yes, it's amazing that Disney's doing this, OG, right?
Yeah.
But it's like again, at the end of the day, it's a business. I don't know why people don't understand that.
I don't either. It's crazy.
Invite Dr. Emil Puri, Dean of the College of Business and Economics at Cal State Fullerton, to share exactly what an investment like this could mean for Anaheim. But before Dr. Puri comes up, I'd like to show a video to better illustrate the potential of Disneyland Forward and why we are so.
I might have to
incredibly
mute it.
excited.
Yeah, you might have to.
Copyright.
You could stop it there. That was pretty much Ken's thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just
Great
basically
stuff.
this is just like a little like montage video of like everything that Disney like does in the theme parks.
Now let's go ahead real quick before we get to the streets, because I have a lot of opinion on the streets. So let me go ahead and we actually got a tweet from the governor. I think it was today, wasn't it? Yeah,
I
it was
believe
yesterday.
so. Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
From Mr. Gavin Newsom, who I have been very critical of in the past. I don't think he handled, in my opinion, the lockdowns very well, things like that. I've been very critical of him in the past, but it looks like they've moved beyond that, Disney and the governor, and he said this, and we'll talk about it. It's only like 30 seconds.
Great news. Anaheim City Council last night on a 7-0 vote supported Disneyland's application to move forward close to $2 billion expansion of Disneyland Park, which is a remarkable thing. All the things that are happening across the country where people are playing, politicians playing politics with Mickey Mouse. Disneyland down on supporting the great state of California. And why? #1 tourist economy in the United States of America.
Okay, this is interesting. So he took a shot. He took a shot at DeSantis, obviously, right?
Right.
People
Yeah.
across the country playing politics with Mickey Mouse. And look, I was critical of this guy with the lockdowns, but eventually you have to move on from it. Like, I get it. It was like it went on for far too long, the lockdowns. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying the lockdown shouldn't have happened at all. I'm just saying they went on for far too long. And I think he played a lot. The whole thing with Disney around the whole time was crazy. But at the same time, this was 3 and 4 years ago. So it's good to see now we've moved beyond that, and now we're moving forward, no pun intended. And it seems like the governor's on board with this thing, which is awesome, which bodes well for getting approved even more so because, right?
Exactly, because I was just going to say I had this conversation with you on the phone, OG, where it was like if Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, made a video statement about this moving forward, no pun intended, to May 7th, how is that going to look on him to the Anaheim City Council if they change their minds and change the votes? That makes him look like a fool. And are they going to really, being the Anaheim City Council, going to make their governor look like a fool? I don't think so.
No, they're not. Absolutely not. So this thing is, at this point, I see May 7th as basically a technicality that needs to be done.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's gonna happen. So let's talk about these streets, man, because this kind of triggered me a little bit.
Oh,
Joe G's getting triggered.
Yeah, I got triggered on this. Okay, so this is from Mouska Gamer, who actually phenomenal coverage all the time with this
He
stuff.
does. He's
Excellent.
a beast at this.
Yeah, amazing. Definitely follow him on X. It's Mouska Gamer, as you can see here. But he said he was talking about the street abandonments, and what the street abandonments are basically Disney buying certain streets so they can do whatever they want with them, right? I'm assuming. So Mouska Gamer here said, yes, interestingly, they initially called for abandonment of Disneyland Drive, according to the person speaking to the council, but this was removed in 2021. So Disney wanted Disneyland Drive essential initially. And then they backed out and said, you know what, forget Disneyland Drive, which is interesting. Let me bring up, because the picture is kind of small here. So let me bring up a bigger version of this and to show you how important.
Do you think they regret that now? They may not admit it, but do you think they regret it?
That's a tough one. Probably not, because they know what they want to do. So maybe they felt it wasn't unnecessary, but I regret it. I wish they would, because I'll tell you why in a second, but go ahead, Rebbe.
Oh, no, let's say, okay, so just really quickly look at this map, right? You got Humber Boulevard and you got Disneyland Drive. I'm thinking maybe the reason why they didn't was because, because maybe they already have a good plan in place for how to navigate that, right? But then also they probably don't want to screw up a lot of traffic. And to some residents' concern, of course, is about crazy traffic that's just going to be insane around this area. So I can see it right now because, from Disneyland Drive up there, you can come down and still hit Catella or whatever and keep going on with your life. So maybe they didn't want to make that private and then not have people to be able to drive on it, right? So they probably just screw it, just leave it open so residents can have that road and still be able to drive through it or something.
Well, yeah, you're right. And as much as I wish they could have buried the street and just expand those parks out, it would mess up, because right here is the Grand Californian. And you go down Disneyland Drive and you enter the Grand Cali off of Disneyland Drive. Well, if you were to bury this street, because you'd have to bury it here for Disneyland expansion, you have to bury it down here for DCA. There's no way to access the road in front of the Grand Cali if you do that. So I'm sure that was part of the equation. Here's the problem, though. Here's Disneyland, and this is the expansion right here. Here's DCA, and here's the expansion right here. You're forced to build bridges now, which is like, it's kind of an awkward situation for a theme park. And look, they did a good job. To be fair, they did a good job with Downtown Disney. Right over there by the Lego store is a giant bridge. You barely even know it's a bridge. You don't even hear the cars. It's amazing. But with a theme park, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. And it's just, I don't know. So let's see how they handle it. Go ahead, Webba.
Okay, so this is where, I told you guys my prediction, right? Okay, guys, here you go. 2024 prediction, Mr. Weber, right?
He's going Simpsons style.
Here we go.
Is for Disneyland Forward. My prediction is Pandora is going to go in the parking lot down here on the left. Okay. Now
over here, hold on. I'll give me 1 second. Let me get to it. I'm gonna use my mouse to kind of highlight. So, like right in here.
Yes, and if you, George and OG, correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys have been there. The Pandora at Walt Disney World, that's a bridge you have to cross, sort of, right, to get to.
Sort of, yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe, because I know it's different because you have all that kind of other like space and nature and stuff like that. But I wonder if they can immerse at least that part of it as well. Hopefully, as Walt Disney World, Pandora.
What
If
I
they just put it right
actually
there.
what I actually think with those bridges, I wonder if they're going to end up enclosing them. Not
That's a
necessarily,
possibility.
because
Yeah.
that way traffic won't be able to see the amount of people passing them overhead, nor will the people be able to see traffic going, kind of breaking them out of the Disney, because Disney's all about that. They want to keep you in that bubble, so they're not going to want to keep you in an immersive land, walk across the bridge,
Mm.
and then you're going to see open traffic just passing you while you're going over to the next part of the park. So I'm wondering also for weather as well,
Yeah.
if they can kind of have like an enclosed tunnel, so to speak, a walking tunnel, that
Right.
maybe they can immerse it on the inside.
It's kind of like a portal going to that
Yeah.
land, probably.
Yeah.
You know,
What do you guys think of that?
because I think that could work. I think that'd be cool. I wonder how big they would have to make it, or like it will be like a square or a circle or something. Because you're right, George. Right, if you're walking through like an open, right, an open bridge or whatever, and you probably could plan anything about that. If you're walking over, you see cars, driving on Disneyland Drive. Technically that street is still like, public, not theme park, real life stuff, right? And you're in this theme park environment trying to be immersed in the stories and theme park and the theming. But then all of a sudden you walk over, and then, oh look, there's some cars, right? Like there's a Ford and a Nissan or whatever. When you're trying to be immersed in going from like the DCA to Pandora, which I guess will be part of DCA potentially. But again, it's like that sight line we talk about, right? It's like that you don't
Right.
want to be like, I don't want to see that stuff. If I'm walking across that George Bridge, you're right. I don't want to look down and be like, oh look, there's like it's crowds of people walking. There's big heavy traffic on the road, right? I want to be immersed in the park. So I'm really
Exactly.
curious on how they're going to do that. I think
Because
I think
again, because again, if they do like an enclosed kind of like tunnel with a bridge, they can kind of utilize the technology if they would want to.
Mhm.
Actually, how they utilize it on the Disney Cruise Line with the Aqua Mouse, the new attraction that's on the Disney Wish, the Disney Treasure, where as you're on the raft, you're going through an enclosed tunnel, and there's animation that's going on the sides of you in the tunnel with Mickey, like based off of like the current Mickey Mouse shorts. So they can kind of utilize that technology, that depending on where you're going, that maybe if they have two different kinds of tunnels, because in the Jim Shaw concept art there was 4. So maybe
Hmm.
if you have 4 tunnels, you have a one-way tunnel going one way, another one-way tunnel coming back, and depending on which direction you're going. So you had said maybe that area that you walk into is going to be Pandora.
Mhm.
So when you're walking to Pandora, that's what the enclosed kind of LED is going to emphasize for Pandora. Walking back out of Pandora, chances are, I'm assuming it would be Pixar Pier is where that location would be.
That's
So
what
that
it, that's what
it would
seems
kind of
like.
it would kind of like utilize like Pixar as they're coming back, and then they can do the same thing on the Disneyland side, because that's kind of smart. I would actually do for 4 enclosed tunnel bridges, all 4 going one way. You're either going one direction or you're coming back through the other.
See, because hold on. So actually, George, I'm actually going to push back on that idea real quick, and I'll tell you why. Right? Because I just thought about this.
You'll be
Uh,
wrong, but go ahead.
right? Go ahead. You're wrong though. Fucking George. So okay, seriously, right? Because you talk tunnels, and which I'm all for, right? I think actually it's a better idea than an open like plane of a bridge. But here's the thing though, why have 4 tunnels because when I think of a tunnel, I think of something kind of smaller. Why not, instead of having like one way this way, one way this way, you just make one giant kind of, I guess if you're looking at it from the side, one giant rectangular structure that the bottom is like, so think of like this is the bridge you're walking on, then you have a giant like it's a bigger walking path than like smaller walking paths, one this way, one this way. Yeah, bigger walking paths of a bridge, so that way the traffic is flowing really nice, and then you can make a bigger structure around that to have better immersive theming into it.
Would you have like something like kind of dividing both sides? Because that's my worry, that if you have it completely opened for both sides,
Mm-hmm.
you're then giving the factor that if people like well,
Because
no, I guess I see your point, because just in case, if you have to kind of make like a U-turn or something, like if you have to go back to the land or what have you, you should be able to have a way to get back rather than walk all the way out and then go all the way back. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
because the way my mind is thinking about this, right? So yeah, it's a bridge, but it's like going into any other land. There like if you go to Adventureland or Tomorrowland, there isn't a. I mean, yeah, some people do have they kind of use like the elements that are there to kind of guide themselves, right? Like left or right, but there's not a distinct divider to be like, hey, this is for this way, this is for this way. It's just you walk in and people walk out, right?
Right.
I'm thinking of like a big bridge, like one for the like that concept art we saw, right? The
Right.
possible concept art. Okay, let's take that. You instead of having two walkways, you just have one big like bridge that goes that goes into that side of the park for
Mhm.
DCA. Then you have another one of the same size from Disneyland to Zootopia slash Frozen, right?
Mhm.
So that way, you have a huge walking space, you have enough room, and then if you want to build like a structure around that, so that way you're enclosed from elements, you're not seeing the Disneyland Drive street traffic or the outside world, so you're still immersed. Then they can heavily immerse that tunnel, so to speak.
Right. That makes
It's just
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's just kind of how I was imagining it. But who knows, George? I don't even know how they're going to work that, because, like I said, right, is that on the planning commission meeting when they had that and they had like the two maps, right, the current one and then the one they're thinking about, right, and they had all the theme park for that side. When you looked at that, because the whole issue with Magic Way, right? Everybody was complaining about Magic Way, right? That was the theme in this meeting, was Magic Way. But on that map, though, for the theme park space, Magic Way was orange, part of theme park space. But then Disneyland Drive, even on their map, was still white. So they have already because like I guess 2021, right? They already
Right.
decided that's still going to be used for like people like public road, I guess. Um, so I guess they might either do the bridges, or do you think they can even do like an underground type of thing?
It's a possibility they may do like an underground kind of tunnel where you don't see the traffic or the traffic sees the people. It's out of sight, out of mind. Or there's also the notion that we're talking about a bridge, a tunnel going overpass or underground because it's going to connect for Disneyland and DCA. What if that's not the case? Maybe that's why after 2021 they said, you know what, the bigger plan, we don't need to close down that road because it's going to have a whole complete different entrance for a whole entire different park.
Oh, so you're thinking an actual third theme park for that entire area?
It came to like Tom Corliss from WDWNT brought it up, and I thought, okay, I can somewhat, but it came into my mind that it would be more so, I think, still more fitting for the Toy Story parking lot. But after the Disneyland Drive notion of not closing it down, that kind of gives the notion that maybe they're not going to use it as a connective material for DCA and Disneyland. What if it's a completely separate park where they don't need to close down Disneyland Drive?
So then that begs the question: if that's the case, right? No, which I think would be cool as well. But then, again, going based off just that concept art we saw, I know everybody that's not probably what they're. I know that's not exactly what's going to happen, but just say going off that,
Right.
uh, the lands and then the IP lands themselves will be too big, in my opinion, for one park, because now you have like one, two, like four lands basically. like I'm not sure. I mean, I guess.
Well,
I guess
let's see. Well, you would have, if just for the sake of it, if we went based off of what Jim Shaw kind of proposed, you would have Wakanda, you would have Pandora, you would have the Fantasy Springs, which can potentially have 3 mini lands within there.
Oh, true. Okay.
Then you would have Zootopia and Frozen.
Okay, so now how many attractions per each land do you think? Like 2 to 3?
2 to 3, I would think. So if you have 5 lands, well, and then Fantasy Springs, you're looking at 2, 4, 6. You're looking at 6 attractions there. So, and then 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. You're looking at about 20 attractions. And if you go back into that environmental kind of packet that Disney proposed, and if you looked at the schematics of that,
Yeah.
they showcase where outdoor attractions can go, where indoor attractions can go, where live shows can go.
Mhm.
And the way that they were kind of showing that, it was a lot for just an expansion. So, but it was enough for an entire new theme park.
So let's deep dive, George. Let's
Mhm.
deep dive. Let's say that whole area is a new theme park. Okay.
Mhm.
Toy Story lot, another theme park.
That's what I told OG. I'm like, let's double down instead of like let's not stop at a third theme park. Let's go for a fourth gate. You know,
Like, dude, that's insane. You know,
like let's catch up to Disney World there.
yeah, right. And you know, if that is the case, because they're talking about these lands and stuff, but what if everybody out there, what if their idea? I mean, I don't think it will happen, but hey,
They said 40 years.
Yeah,
they said
40
this
years.
is going to be a 40-year project. We also have to keep that in mind too.
Right.
All these ideas are not going to get done in a 10-year range here. This is 40 years. We are going to be 73, 74, 72.
Oh god.
God knows what OG is going to be. It's like, it's like,
Exactly.
it's like
I'm gonna be Palpatine's age.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
that like this is going to be done. So who really knows in their minds what is going to be? And OG, to kind of catch you up to your notion of Disneyland Drive, because Mike and I were kind of going back and forth, like what they would do as far as like with the bridges and what have you. I thought of something like an enclosed tunnel,
Right.
kind of like that's immersive depending on which route you're walking to. Mike suggested maybe going underground or what have you, but it also begged to the question. The reason why they may keep Disneyland Drive open is because maybe they don't need it for bridges or underground passageways. What if they don't need to close it because that whole section is going to be for the third gate?
Exactly. That's a possibility, right? And then you would enter through like that downtown Disney route or whatever.
And then on top of that, OG, I just told George, I was like, okay, let's say if that's the third gate, guys, right? Let's go all the way, baby. Let's go all the way, right? If that's the third gate, Toy Story lot. Would that be the fourth gate?
That's the fourth gate. And that's what I was saying, like 40 years. They have all this in mind for 40 years. I could definitely see 2 more parks coming into play here.
Yeah, I mean that would be a smart move. You could make that a third park, and then you have all 3 parks kind of in that close proximity, you know?
Right.
I don't know. We'll see. You know, because I mean there's been a lot of talk, like even Tom Corliss on WDWNT was saying that the goal is actually a third park for this whole thing. That's what they want, a third park. You know, and the other thing too with Toy Story lot, they're trying to get that. They mentioned it in this meeting, the height for themed elements, right? For 300 feet. They're not building that's not for a Dave and Buster's, everybody. I mean, this is going to be a theme park. Okay. It's eventually going to be a theme park. Now, is OG saying, you know, this is going to happen anytime soon? No, I don't think so. I think that I think it's going to take time. Okay. I'll just say that. But like, I think the end game for that property is a park. Absolutely. You can see all the signs. It's right there in front of you when they're trying to get the zoning for these themed elements to be 300 feet. They're not doing that because they want to build a mall.
right? And the height thing, right, for the buildings, that in my opinion is for to have a icon symbol, right, for a park.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
you want to have something grand and big like that that shows this icon here represents this park.
It's me dipped in bronze.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just be the Italiano dipped in
Well,
bronze.
George, what else are you dipping it into?
Exactly. Oh man. Oh, but it's crazy. And this is the kind of stuff I love, man. I love speculating. I love it's not about being right or wrong. I love talking about
Yeah.
speculating and see
Yeah.
what happens. You know, this is opening up so much for our resort.
Absolutely. And there was another thing I wanted to touch upon real quick where it was mentioned, but I think a lot of people in the community aren't really focused on it because they're focused on like the theme parks and like the but they did mention the notion for DVC.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I think also there too, they're probably going to be looking at a location for a new DVC hotel.
So I have a thing about that, right? Is I feel like I said this on Twitter multiple times. I feel like that at least as Disneyland Resort is concerned, they're very as your word OG bullish on this DVC stuff for whatever reason, right? And I have a hypothesis here. I think it's because because we're thinking of like new hotels or whatever. But the thing is, right? We have 3 hotels. I don't know if the Pixar one is staying or not, but
God, I hope
Dis-
not.
Right.
But the Disneyland Resort already has a bunch of good neighbor hotels, and I don't think they want to take that business away from them. So they might be for Disneyland Resort focusing on DVC because they want to focus on that Disney timeshare aspect instead of pulling all the guests away from the good neighbor hotels because they in turn support the guests that are coming to the park. Whereas Walt Disney World, they have that a blessing of size where they have all their hotels within the Disney bubble there.
So do you think the Pixar hotel could just potentially become a single DVC resort, being that the Disneyland hotel does have a DVC tower?
Possibly, yeah. Probably.
Because then you would have a DVC resort that you could purchase with points, or if you just buy a timeshare, and then you could have an experience where again you're experiencing being inside of a theme park while staying on property.
Yes, exactly. And that too. And here's the thing. DVC, you don't have to be a DVC member to go
Correct.
to a DVC property.
You could buy points.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think that's where they're going with this thing. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there with the hotels and the DVC aspect. Because too, also remember, the DVC we have now, there's a lot of people who are DVC members that complain about there's not enough they can't get spots for DVC because it's always booked. So if they have more DVC, ching, more members get in there, and even non-members can just buy the points and get in there as well.
Yep. No, well said. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. We got that May 7th vote. We're definitely going to cover it here on the channel.
Yeah.
And the same day as the next quarterly earnings. So that's quite telling.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot coming up, like the first week of May. We have the shareholder meeting. We have the this Disneyland Forward thing. There's so much going on, man. It's going to be a wild time. So, but also programming note before we head out today. The Italiano is going to be out here actually for the next for a little while. So the content is probably going to be a little different. It's going to be minus the Italiano for a little while.
Basically,
yeah. We love the Italiano, but it's only temporary.
Yes. Don't worry, ladies. I'm coming back. But that's why I thought I'd kind of showcase myself a little bit before I go away temporarily.
You know what I'm saying? So, but not yet. We've been recording a lot of content, so we're going to sprinkle it, next few days. But yeah, just so everyone's aware. But he will return, and I'm telling you, first week of May, we're going to hit the ground running. We even have a collabo coming up. We even have a collabo coming up with a gentleman made in '93. He's a YouTuber, reactor. and we're gonna be reacting to a bunch of K-pop stuff. George and I. And Eva, if you wanna join us, bro, you can join us on that one too.
All right.
But yeah, it'll be fun. That's coming first week of May. So first week of May is gonna be a banger for the channel. Absolutely. But
I love that putting Mike on the spot and his reactions like, yeah, sure, I'll sit and watch this shit, like whatever.
Hey, yo, I'm down. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, but you know what? Let's go.
Let's go. Emma's there for the cake.
Of course,
Go.
like you know.
You got to hit the button, bro, for the.
There we go. So the Italiano. If you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Sister's Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And while I'm out in Southern California, if you are in the Disneyland Resort area or what have you, if you happen to see me, let me know. Stop, say hi. I always love having conversations with you guys. So, I mean, if we could actually have a one-on-one conversation, it's always a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you can just walk by and give him an eagle.
I'll know what it means.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Weber, if you can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me on, OG. You can find Spider-Man, Mr. Weber. You can find me on Instagram, Mr. Weber, and you can also find me on Twitter, Mr. Weber, and also, last but not least, on OG55.
Yes. Everybody, we had a great conversation today all about Disneyland Forward. Comment down below with all your opinions and thoughts, your speculations. Who cares if you're right or wrong? It's just fun speculating. It's the journey, right? As Tomorrow would say, it's the journey.
It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
Right, exactly. Just take my hand and join me on this as we travel to Speculationville.
Just a dream away. Possibly.
Maybe.
Possibly. You said maybe, OG.
Oh, here we go. Shout out to maybe, then we're going to take off. Everybody have a great day. Bye-bye now.
'Cause I'm that girl that drives you crazy, but you're killing me alone. Got to thinking maybe alone. Got to thinking maybe alone. Got to thinking maybe. 세상이 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해. 개필 것 같았어.